we must also be vigilant with our industry partners. The Worldwide Slot Guidelines, WSG for example, are under threat. For over 4 decades, WSG have been continuously updated. The goal is to consistently, fairly, and transparently allocate scarce capacity at airports. The benefits are clear. 1.5 billion consumers fly annually from 195 slot-coordinated airports. They rely on scheduling stability. New entrants, particularly low-cost carriers, have used the WSG to establish themselves even in slot-constrained airports. And every traveler benefits from aircraft investments made using WSG predictability. Airports want slot auctions as a means of reform. We see them as a step in the wrong direction. Auctions benefit airlines with the deepest pockets. Auction won't create more capacity and surely won't lead to lower consumer cost. In other words, slot auctions would be a mess, and we will oppose them vigorously. The current system, however, is not perfect. We recognize that, and there are areas that need reviewing, clarification, and reinforcing. This includes finding a more effective means for airports to declare available capacity. That's why we are engaging in a strategic review of the WSG with the airport and slot coordinator communities. Progress will be reported to the ICAO Assembly in 2019. In the meantime, the challenge for government and airports is to respect the current WSG. Like all global standards, it delivers greatest value when everybody follows the same rules. While the WSG are great at managing scarce capacity, they are not an alternative solution for building more airports. We are, and I mentioned that several times, in a capacity crisis. We don't see the required airport infrastructure investment to solve it. Governments struggle to build quickly.
Any other question? Yes, sir.
Andrew Charlton from the Aviation Intelligence Reporter. We heard very briefly for just a moment this morning in the State of the Industry address reference to slots, and you are 5 champions of competition, all of whom operate out of airports you totally dominate. And I just wondered what your thinking is about what might be an intelligent and sensible set of reforms to the slot regulations.
Slot regulations and the changes necessary. Some of you are more affected by it than others.
Yeah, so the perspective on slot regulation is one that needs to have an adequate amount of capability for entry. We can't have environments where entrants are blocked as a result of historic dynamics. And the slot allocation process that we've had has been proven to create an enormously competitive industry. We've seen entrants of low-cost carriers, we've seen entrants of ultra-low-cost carriers. This is one of those dynamics that needs to continuously be improved, but the model is not broken.
I was just about to say, you don't think the model
is not broken. And I think that's one of the key drivers here is that you've had something that has independent slot coordinators, it has the participation of the airlines, it has the participation of the governments, and it actually works. And I think that's we have lots of things in our industry that's broken. This is not one of the areas that's broken.
I'd 100% endorse that, actually, Richard. I think Hong Kong Airport's got 100 different airlines in. Proof positive, I think that
what percentage of slots do you have?
About 40.
And yourself?
40.
At your main hub?
In that vicinity, yeah.
40?
64.
52.
60.
60.
But I think the other point,
it's not really it's a fair question, but it's not really the point, I guess.
No.
The point is that if you have an airline and you want to have a certain level of predictability, and you have fleet orders which take a long time to be delivered, you cannot sort of start all over again and say, hey, we need to see where we are. So just to confirm what Kaylan says, there's a basis where you need to operate from. The basis works pretty well.
Right.
It can be optimized always. It should be modernized always. But the suggestion that the system is broken, I would really put far away.
Perhaps the real question should be, going forward, what are we going to do about the lack of slots? The distribution that we have today is in a finite set of slots. How are we going to deal with the fact that, as we've heard during the course of this morning, we have 3 billion people, 3.5 billion people travelling, 4.3 billion people. I've heard three sets of numbers, but all growing at 6%. So you take the population of the United Kingdom, France and Germany put together, every year that number of people come to market. Where exactly are we going to put them? We can be talking about slot coordination and fairness of distribution and allocation. In the end, guys, we've got a real problem.
Yeah, and it's a problem.
Where are they going to go? Because in 4 years' time, if the numbers are right, that 3.5 billion will be 4.5 billion. So if you look forward in the IATA AGM, wherever that may be in 2022, 1 billion more people will be flying. Well, I want to know where they're going to go and how they're going to do it, because if you look at the constrained airports, of which most of us represent airlines that come from those, this is a huge problem. It's an existential problem. There is no immediate solution to it. We've had the third runway saga at Heathrow. We've got all sorts of things going on. And in the end, I kind of think, well, all this will be slightly academic, or perhaps more acrimonious, actually, as these slots reach their finite point.
Is this an issue that everybody agrees is extremely important, but is so difficult that nobody and requires so many different agencies to solve it, that God alone knows what happens?
But again, I think this is the key here, is that this is a lack of infrastructure development problem, not a slot allocation problem.